The year is 1765. Following the costly French and Indian War, Great Britain sought to recoup its expenses through a series of taxes imposed on the American colonies. The Stamp Act, requiring stamps on legal documents and newspapers, ignited widespread resentment. While repealed in 1766, this marked only the beginning of escalating tensions between London and its increasingly assertive overseas territories. Colonial merchants began boycotting British goods, and whispers of resistance grew louder across taverns and meeting halls. The Boston Massacre of 1770 further inflamed passions. British soldiers fired upon a crowd of protesters, resulting in several casualties. While the details remain disputed, colonial newspapers sensationalized the event, portraying it as a brutal act of imperial aggression. Paul Revere's infamous engraving, though historically inaccurate, became a powerful symbol of British tyranny and fueled anti-British sentiment throughout the colonies. Propaganda played a crucial role in shaping public opinion. The Tea Act of 1773 proved to be the final straw. While technically lowering the price of tea, it granted the British East India Company a monopoly that excluded colonial merchants. In Boston, colonists disguised as Mohawk Indians dumped chests of tea into the harbor, an act of defiance known as the Boston Tea Party. This brazen demonstration prompted Parliament to respond with the Coercive Acts, further restricting colonial liberties and pushing the colonies closer to rebellion. The First Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia in 1774, bringing together delegates from 12 of the 13 colonies. While initially seeking reconciliation with Britain, the Congress drafted a petition to King George III outlining their grievances and asserting colonial rights. However, growing radical sentiment within the colonies suggested that independence might be the only viable path forward. The question was no longer as if there would be conflict, but as a when. The battles of Lexington and Concord in April 1775 marked the official beginning of armed conflict between Great Britain and its American colonies. Though relatively small skirmishes, they galvanized colonial support for the Patriot cause. News of the fighting spread rapidly throughout the colonies, prompting many to take up arms against British rule. The Second Continental Congress soon followed, tasked with organizing a Continental Army. George Washington was appointed commander-in-chief of the Continental Army in June 1775. Despite lacking extensive military experience, his reputation for integrity and leadership made him a unifying figure amongst the disparate colonial militias. The early months of the war were challenging, with poorly equipped and trained American forces facing off against the professional British Army. The Siege of Boston would be their first major test. Thomas Jefferson, a young lawyer from Virginia, was chosen to draft the Declaration of Independence. Drawing upon Enlightenment ideals articulated by John Locke and others, he crafted a powerful argument for natural rights and popular sovereignty. The document's eloquent prose and bold assertions of independence would resonate far beyond the American colonies. The Continental Congress debated Jefferson's draft extensively, making revisions and deletions before its final approval on July 4, 1776. The document formally declared the 13 American colonies independent from Great Britain, listing grievances against King George III and asserting the right of the people to alter or abolish a government that becomes destructive of their rights. News of the Declaration's signing spread rapidly throughout the colonies, igniting celebrations and reaffirming commitment to the cause of independence. However, not all colonists supported the revolution. Loyalists remained loyal to the crown, leading to internal divisions and further conflict. The fight for independence had only just begun. The signing of the Declaration was not merely an act of defiance, it was a profound statement about human rights and self-governance, influencing revolutionary movements around the world for centuries to come. While the war would continue for many years, this single document laid the foundation for a new nation founded on the ideals of liberty and equality, ideals that would be constantly tested and redefined in the decades and centuries to follow. The Committee of Five, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Livingston, and Roger Sherman, presented their draft to the Continental Congress on June 28, 1776. Debate was fierce. While many delegates embraced independence, others remained loyal to the crown or feared the consequences of severing ties with Great Britain. The prospect of war, economic ruin, and potential retribution from the most powerful empire in the world weighed heavily upon their deliberations. This initial draft would undergo significant revisions over several days. John Dickinson of Pennsylvania emerged as a leading voice against immediate independence. A wealthy lawyer and landowner, Dickinson believed reconciliation with Britain was still possible through negotiation. His eloquent arguments resonated with those who feared the instability that revolution would bring. He proposed several amendments to the draft declaration, attempting to soften its language and retain avenues for peaceful resolution. These attempts were ultimately unsuccessful, highlighting the deep divisions within Congress. Jefferson's initial draft contained a powerful condemnation of slavery, arguing that the institution violated the very principles of liberty it proclaimed. However, this passage faced strong opposition from Southern delegates who relied heavily on enslaved labor for their economies. To secure broader support for independence, Jefferson reluctantly agreed to its removal. This compromise remains one of the most controversial aspects of the Declaration's history, revealing a profound contradiction at its heart. The debates continued for days, with delegates meticulously scrutinizing every phrase and clause. Small but significant changes were made to refine the language and address concerns raised by various factions. Adams's forceful advocacy and Franklin's pragmatic wisdom helped guide the process, ensuring that the final document reflected a broad consensus, even if achieved through compromise. Each modification shaped not only the Declaration's content, but also its enduring legacy. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress formally adopted the Declaration of Independence. While often celebrated as a day of unanimous agreement, the vote was far from simple. 12 colonies voted in favor, New York abstained, awaiting further instructions from its convention. The document's approval marked a decisive break from British rule and signaled the beginning of an arduous struggle for American independence. A printed copy of the Declaration was dispatched to Dunlap's broadside printer, William Dunlap. He produced approximately 200 copies, known as Dunlap broadsides, which were quickly distributed throughout the colonies. These hastily printed announcements served as the first public dissemination of the newly declared independence, igniting patriotic fervor and galvanizing support for the revolutionary cause. The news of independence spread rapidly, carried by messengers on horseback and through a network of colonial newspapers. Public reactions were varied, from enthusiastic celebrations to cautious apprehension. Loyalists condemned the Declaration as treasonous, while patriots embraced it as a testament to their commitment to liberty and self-governance. The document's words ignited a firestorm of political debate across the 13 colonies. The signing of the Declaration was not a single event, but rather an ongoing process. While John Hancock famously signed his name prominently on July 4, most delegates did not sign until August 2. The signatures represented a profound commitment, a pledge to support the cause of independence even in the face of potential execution as traitors by the British Crown. The Declaration's impact extended far beyond the American colonies. It served as a powerful inspiration for revolutionary movements around the world, influencing thinkers and activists who sought to challenge oppressive regimes. The ideals of liberty, equality, and self-determination enshrined in the document resonated with those yearning for freedom and democracy across continents. Despite its lofty ideals, the Declaration's promises remained unfulfilled for many within American society. The institution of slavery persisted for nearly a century after its adoption, denying millions of people the very rights it proclaimed. The struggle to fully realize the Declaration's principles continues to this day, reminding us that the pursuit of liberty and equality is an ongoing journey, not a destination. The Continental Congress recognized the immense risk they were undertaking. While ardent for independence, many delegates harbored deep reservations about severing ties with Great Britain. The potential consequences, war, economic ruin, and foreign intervention weighed heavily on their minds. John Dickinson of Pennsylvania, a vocal opponent of separation, tirelessly argued for reconciliation, fearing the fragility of 13 disparate colonies united against a global superpower. His influence was considerable, slowing the momentum towards a formal declaration. Thomas Jefferson's initial draft of the Declaration faced significant revisions. The Committee of Five, Adams, Franklin, Livingston, Sherman, and Jefferson himself, meticulously scrutinized every phrase, debating the inclusion of grievances and philosophical justifications. Adams championed Jefferson's writing skills, recognizing his ability to articulate the colonists' case with eloquence and precision. However, even Adams felt compelled to alter certain passages, particularly those deemed too inflammatory or potentially alienating to undecided delegates. The most contentious issue revolved around slavery. Jefferson's original draft condemned the transatlantic slave trade as an execrable commerce, linking it to King George III's attempts to suppress colonial growth. However, South Carolina and Georgia delegates fiercely opposed this clause, fearing economic devastation if abolition were even hinted at. This compromise, a painful one for many, ultimately led to its removal from the final declaration, highlighting the complex moral contradictions inherent in the pursuit of liberty. News of the Declaration's adoption spread rapidly throughout the colonies. Paul Revere, already famed for his earlier ride, played a crucial role in disseminating copies to Massachusetts towns and cities. Printed broadsides appeared within days, proclaiming the birth of a new nation, while celebratory bonfires illuminated town squares. The Declaration's message also instilled fear among Loyalists, those who remained loyal to the British Crown. The response in Britain was swift and unequivocal. King George III dismissed the Declaration as treasonous rebellion and ordered the immediate suppression of the uprising. Parliament authorized increased military spending, deploying additional troops to America under General William Howe. The die was cast. Armed conflict was now inevitable, transforming a political dispute into a full-scale war for independence. The Declaration's impact extended beyond the immediate conflict. Its eloquent articulation of natural rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness resonated deeply with Enlightenment thinkers across Europe. Figures like Voltaire and Diderot lauded the document as a bold statement against tyranny and a testament to human potential. The Declaration became a blueprint for future revolutions around the world. The signing itself was not the grand spectacle often depicted. The document wasn't signed simultaneously by all delegates. Rather, many added their signatures over several weeks after its formal adoption on July 4. Those who signed pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, a profound commitment to a cause fraught with peril. The Declaration's legacy is complex. While it championed ideals of equality and freedom, its promise remained unfulfilled for enslaved African Americans. The institution of slavery contradicted the very principles enshrined in the document, creating a profound moral hypocrisy that would plague the nation for decades to come. The fight for true equality was just beginning. The Declaration's influence extends far beyond America's borders. It served as an inspiration for movements advocating for self-determination and human rights across the globe, from the French Revolution to anti-colonial struggles in Africa and Asia. Its principles continue to shape international law and inspire generations seeking freedom and justice. Today, the Declaration of Independence remains a powerful symbol of American identity and democratic ideals. Its words continue to inspire hope and challenge us to strive towards a more perfect union, one where all individuals are truly free and equal. The document is more than just historical text. It's a living testament to the enduring human desire for liberty. The Continental Congress faced a profound dilemma: how to reconcile the desire for independence with the realities of war. Many delegates, particularly those from Pennsylvania and New Jersey, still harbored hopes for reconciliation with Great Britain, fearing economic ruin and potential military defeat. John Dickinson's eloquent arguments against declaring independence resonated deeply within these factions, highlighting the risks of severing ties with the mother country. The debate was not simply about freedom, it was a complex calculation of survival. Thomas Jefferson's initial draft underwent significant revisions by the Committee of Five and then by the entire Congress. John Adams famously remarked that Jefferson's original document was a most extraordinary performance, but required considerable editing to appease various factions and address concerns about language and content. The committee, comprised of Adams, Franklin, Livingston, Sherman, and Jefferson himself, worked tirelessly to refine the text, smoothing out controversial passages and ensuring broader support. The most contentious alterations involved the indictment of George III. Initially, Jefferson had accused the king of promoting slavery in the colonies, a powerful but politically dangerous accusation. Southern delegates vehemently opposed this clause, fearing it would alienate them and jeopardize the Union. Franklin shrewdly brokered a compromise, removing the anti-slavery passage while retaining the core criticisms of the monarchy's actions. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress officially adopted the Declaration of Independence. However, it wasn't a unanimous celebration. While the vote marked a pivotal moment in American history, several delegates still hesitated, fearing reprisal from Britain or believing reconciliation was still possible. New York abstained, awaiting further instructions from its provincial Congress. The signing itself was not a single grand ceremony. Delegates signed the Declaration over a period of time, some on July 4th and others in the days that followed. John Hancock's large signature became iconic, intended to ensure it could be seen from across the room and by King George himself. The act was a deliberate provocation, a defiant statement of independence. Copies of the Declaration were rapidly disseminated throughout the colonies and beyond. Printed broadsides, often read aloud in public squares and taverns, ensured that news of independence reached even those who couldn't read. Paul Revere's engraving, titled "The American Progress," became a powerful symbol of the revolutionary spirit. The Declaration's impact was not limited to America. It resonated with revolutionary movements across Europe and Latin America, inspiring calls for self-determination and challenging the legitimacy of colonial rule. The ideals articulated in the document, liberty, equality, and popular sovereignty, became a rallying cry for those seeking freedom from oppression. The immediate reaction within Great Britain was outrage and condemnation. King George III viewed the Declaration as treasonous rebellion and vowed to crush the uprising in America. The British government imposed increasingly harsh measures, tightening its grip on the colonies and preparing for a protracted war. The Declaration wasn't a guarantee of victory, it was a declaration of intent. The Revolutionary War would be long and brutal, testing the resolve of the American colonists to their limits. Yet, the words penned in Philadelphia provided a moral compass, guiding the fledgling nation through years of hardship and sacrifice. The legacy of the Declaration of Independence extends far beyond its initial context. It remains a powerful statement of human rights and democratic ideals, inspiring generations to strive for freedom and equality. Its principles continue to be debated and reinterpreted, serving as a constant reminder of the ongoing struggle for a more just and equitable world. The immediate aftermath of the Declaration's adoption was a period of intense uncertainty. While celebrated in Philadelphia, its reception elsewhere within the colonies was far more divided. Loyalists remained steadfast in their allegiance to the Crown, while many others wrestled with the implications of open rebellion. The Continental Congress now faced the daunting task of disseminating this radical document and rallying support across vast distances, knowing that failure meant certain defeat. News of the Declaration reached London weeks later, delivered by intercepted ships and hesitant couriers. King George III, already deeply frustrated with the colonial response to his policies, viewed it as an act of treason demanding swift and decisive action. He authorized a full-scale military campaign to quell the rebellion, believing that a few well-placed troops would quickly restore order and reassert British authority. The publication of Thomas Paine's Common Sense had already primed public opinion for independence. Now, the Declaration provided the explicit justification. Printers across the colonies worked tirelessly to produce copies, often resorting to hand copying when printing presses were unavailable. These broadsides and pamphlets became powerful tools in shaping public discourse and galvanizing support for the revolutionary cause. Benjamin Franklin's diplomatic efforts in France proved crucial. He skillfully leveraged the Declaration to secure much needed financial and military assistance from the French monarchy, who saw an opportunity to weaken their long-standing rival, Great Britain. This foreign intervention would ultimately prove pivotal in tipping the scales of the war in favor of the American colonies. The Declaration's impact extended beyond the immediate conflict. Its eloquent articulation of universal rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness resonated deeply with oppressed peoples around the world. It provided a powerful ideological foundation for future movements advocating for self-determination and human dignity. While celebrating independence, the Founding Fathers were acutely aware of the hypocrisy inherent in declaring liberty while simultaneously perpetuating slavery. This contradiction would become a source of profound internal conflict and ultimately shape the course of American history for generations to come. The initial response from Native American tribes was complex. While some saw the Declaration as an opportunity to potentially negotiate for greater autonomy, others viewed it with suspicion. Wary of promises made by European settlers, the conflict between colonists and Native Americans continued unabated throughout the Revolutionary War. The Declaration was not simply a legal document, it was a statement of hope, a testament to the enduring human desire for self-governance. It laid the groundwork for a new nation founded on principles of individual liberty and popular sovereignty, ideals that would continue to inspire generations striving for freedom around the world. The legacy of the Declaration extends far beyond the borders of the United States. It has served as a model for countless declarations of independence and human rights documents worldwide, from the French Revolution to anti-colonial movements in Africa and Asia. Its principles continue to be debated and reinterpreted in the ongoing struggle for equality and justice. The Declaration of Independence remains a powerful symbol of human aspiration, a reminder that the pursuit of liberty is an ongoing journey. While its promises have often fallen short of reality, it continues to inspire us to strive for a more just and equitable world, one where all people are truly created equal